3 o'clock on this Monday, the 11th of March, 2024. Welcome aboard the Postgame show. He is Elijah Campbell, fresh off an eventful weekend in Greenville, South Carolina. I'm Jay Phillips. Both of us comfortably inside the Herndon Chevy studios on this Monday. Beautiful day in the capital city, wherever you might be. Appreciate you being with us. We got a lot to get to on today's program. And by a lot, I mean a lot. How you doing?
I mean, I think it's the first time, Jay, that, our show, in terms of the main story, is going to overlap with one of the main stories on First Take.
Yeah.
I think this might be post-game show history in that regard.
It might be. So far, whether it's local, regional, national, I've really not seen anybody. There might be somebody out there. I've just not seen it yet that is siding with LSU on what happened yesterday afternoon in Greenville at the end of the Carolina LSU SEC Women's Championship game. But we'll get into all of that for you. Really nice win for Lamont Paris's team. Unfortunately, it did not lead them to what they wanted. And I got to think that Carolina fans who already had to take like a whole bottle full of Pepto before they pulled for Tennessee on Saturday now hate Tennessee even more.
That's right. As my grandfather would tell you, welcome to the experience.
Yeah.
And having Kentucky light you up in your own arena is something that's definitely happened and something that I don't think either of us foresaw.
Why didn't somebody jump out of the stands and just beat Reed Shepherd up? I mean, that's what you do.
I mean, that's the theme of the weekend.
Sure.
Is pulling the reverse run our test and coming out of the stands and onto the floor to throw hands.
I mean, that kid in the second half, it's
unconscious.
Yeah. It was one of those things where I'm like, as soon as he got the ball, it's like, all right, well, they're going to score on this possession. Yeah, Tennessee, what can you do to match? And the answer was not much. Although Tennessee attempted to make it again, but really the difference in that game, despite Shepherd being amazing in the second half, Tennessee was brutally awful for the first 10 minutes or so.
For their first 18.
Just absolutely awful. I give some of that to Kentucky, but Tennessee was just off. And they never really did recover. And so South Carolina, as most of you now know, from a men's point of view, will start their SEC tournament on Thursday, right around this time. It's scheduled for 3:30. So chances are probably more like 3:45. I guess it just depends.
Depends how far along, I guess, the first game ends up going between Mississippi State and
That game's scheduled for 1 o'clock?
It would be, 1 o'clock Eastern.
Yeah,
noon Central.
So, yeah, it might get it in around there. But they'll be coming on the air at 3 o'clock on Thursday. South Carolina will get the winner of Wednesday night's game between Arkansas and Vanderbilt. But a hell of a game Saturday in Starkville. And listen, that's a quad one win. It's certainly a resume booster. It's disappointing. Listen, I said this on Twitter the other day, and I promise we're going to talk about the women's game. I said this on Twitter after the men's game, though. This is a testament to the strength of this league, that a 13-5 SEC school is going to start their tournament on Thursday. You have a four-way logjam for second place in the standings. But for seeding purposes, Carolina lost the head-to-head. And a lot of you, we explained it on Friday. It gets to the point where it made your head hurt to try to get into it again. That's why we said the easiest thing to happen, win or lose for the Gamecocks, the easiest thing it was for Kentucky to lose, because that would take care of it for South Carolina. If Carolina wins, well, hey, then you finish a game better than them in the standings anyway. But if you both were to lose, you own the head-to-head, and it would only have come down to a head-to-head between the Gamecocks and the Wildcats. With a four-way tie, South Carolina was on the outside looking in because they were 1-2 against those other teams. Kentucky was 2-1. But Kentucky actually, with that 2-1, they actually get the 2 seed. In a weird, convoluted kind of a way. So, but you didn't beat Alabama. You didn't beat Auburn. Should you win on Thursday, South Carolina fans, you'll get Auburn in the same time slot on Friday. So you hope I told Elijah, I love my job. I'm very excited about today's show especially, but I'm hoping for you guys that we are not here. We won't be here Thursday. I am hoping we're not here on Friday.
And I think there's a very good chance of that because my opinion of Arkansas and Vanderbilt is quite low. Even though Arkansas didn't give Alabama all they can handle, I think that might be more of an indictment on.
We'll get
Alabama.
more. We'll get more on the EBPI selections. Elijah will be in Nashville for the SEC tournament. And he's leaving tomorrow. He'll be with us on the show tomorrow.
That's right, leaving after the show.
That's right. Speaking of tomorrow's show, tomorrow is Pro Day at Carolina. Now, it'll be in the morning, and we'll be live from there and have a lot of recaps and stuff for you. Speaking of recaps, tomorrow afternoon, please mark your calendar, or you don't really mark it anymore.
Some
of
people
you
mark their
Some of you might, if you like to mark a calendar. But however you set appointments for yourself, 3:15 tomorrow. South Carolina head football coach Shane Beamer will be with Elijah and me here on the program. We'll talk Pro Day. We'll talk about, the newest addition to the coaching staff, how unexpected that was. Spring ball starts here in just a few days. So we'll get into a lot of things tomorrow with Coach Beamer, but appreciate him taking the time to be with us. Speaking of head coaches, coming up inside of a half hour, Gamecock baseball coach Mark Kingston will make his regular Monday visit. Carolina fresh off a sweep of Longwood. They scored 42 runs this weekend.
Something like that. 22 in one game.
Yesterday, and listen, yesterday was tight until it wasn't. I think the sixth inning is now over, and the game concluded.
Let me refresh my page here. The box score on Stat Broadcast. Yeah, okay, yep. It ended just now. Yeah.
Okay. How many runs they scored in the sixth inning yesterday?
Let's go back and look because it was a metric bleep ton of runs. That's the non-scientific or non-mathematical.
Well, that's how the EBPI measures things.
Yeah, exactly. It's not as scientific as most other things. If we go to home stats here, that was an 11-run sixth inning.
11. Okay, I knew it was a lot.
You could have canceled out the runs they scored in innings 1 through 5 and just counted the sixth inning and let Longwood keep all of their innings, and you still would have beaten them almost by double.
The story of the weekend, though, was yesterday. Listen, I think it might have been the story of the weekend regardless, as Coach Don Staley's team wins another Southeastern Conference tournament championship to go with their regular season title. And it was a hell of a basketball game. But as we all know now, it got really ugly at the end. It's unfortunate. It happens in sports where two very competitive teams who have a history get after each other. I don't think anybody's here to take anybody to task for chippiness. Let me say before I say anything else, there is no question whatsoever that Camila Cardoso deserved to be ejected from the game and suspended for her next game. You can't do that. She was sticking up for a teammate, which is laudable, but there is a line that you can cross, and she did. I think she fully understands that. She has been very contrite in her post-game comments. Dawn Staley, I thought, was fantastic in how she handled it. Flau'jae Johnson, she got angry. Let's just call it what it is. She got angry. She got her pocket picked by Malaysia, who was having a hell of a game. In fact, was the tournament MOP. Which is fantastic for a freshman basketball player. And Flau'jae decided to have an intentional foul, and then a lot of Gamecock players, were excited by the moment of what was happening, as they could really begin at that point, I think, to feel the game heading in their direction for good. And a couple of them got up. Right up in Flau'jae's face. Maybe not right up. And listen, we can probably, as sports fans and observers, whether you're a fan of a team that was involved or a third-party type, where's that line between being excited and how close you are to a player? But Flau'jae didn't like that and gave Ashlyn a little shove, and that's when it began to escalate. And that's when Camilla came over, and then Haley Van Lith came over and decided she was going to try to shove on Camilla a little bit.
Valiant but foolish.
Yeah. And I don't know. And we're going to play what Kim Mulkey had to say, which was just really regrettable. And we'll play what Dawn had to say too. Camila Cardoso is bigger than most humans. She just is. And that's easy to tell, right? did she mean to shove Flaugier down to the floor? I don't know. Is it because she's so big and strong that, her momentum and her anger allowed for that to occur, if you will? Maybe a little bit of both. I don't know that she didn't want to go all WWE on her, I don't think.
Probably not the intention.
Yeah, I don't think that was the intent.
Yeah, she flew onto the scene there.
Yeah.
She inserted herself pretty quickly, and I think there's a lot of inertia that probably goes into.
And I'm not defending it. That's why I said before I said anything else, she deserved to be ejected from the game. And then multiple players were ejected by breaking rules and leaving the bench area, which, boy, I feel like those are some gray area rules, man. I mean, it's a stoppage in play. People are already
We were going to have a
the bench.
timeout,
Yeah,
it looks like.
yeah.
So.
Well, the stoppage in play had already been whistled.
Yeah.
But when you, I guess, encroach upon the scene, then they're going to get you. It took nearly 20 minutes for the officials to sort it all out. Nice job by them, tip of the cap. And then, of course, the very, very ugly scene where Flaugier Johnson's brother, who we now know who that was, jumped the spectator wall, apparently either kicked or landed upon a scorer's table staffer.
Used them to get himself over the table, and that was...
who he was immediately, and then made contact with Camilla, and then a Greenville policeman also leapt over the table, and that was, and then two other security dudes and cops made sure that a couple of other spectators did not come down. Flaugier Johnson's brother has been arrested. I have not seen anything in the last little bit to let me know whether or not he made bail, but as of this morning, he had not. And the last I saw was around noon that he remained in jail when the story was published by the AP up in Greenville. So I don't know if now at just past 3 o'clock if he's gotten out of jail yet, but he's been charged with disorderly conduct and third-degree assault and battery. So, which that needs to happen. You can't do that. I sort of appreciate perhaps the I don't know. I don't want to say chivalry there. You see your sister, I get it, right? Like, I get your anger and emotion, but you can't do that, and that's why he was arrested. It's very unfortunate. Again, chippiness, pushing and shoving, jawing. I mean, Angel Reese earlier in the game, Elijah had pulled Camilla's hair. Even after the 20-minute delay, I want to add, Angel Reese was still like she did her. Y'all, if you're watching me on YouTube, she take your hand like a hand puppet, that like talking.
Oh, from the time the game tipped to the end, I mean, sitting on the floor, I could hear almost everything being said. And I can tell you, it was ruthless, it was extensive, and it was nonstop. I mean, she and the Energizer Bunny would have done a really good job miming each other in terms of non-stoppedness for an entire game. There was some serious commitment to the bit there.
Yeah. I'm going to hit a break here. Again, Elijah was there, as he just said. When we come back, I'm going to basically let him become like the traveling storyteller of yore and give you the firsthand feet away from this account from what he got. And if you were there and you'd like to chime in, because I've heard from several of you in the last not even 24 hours who were there, and I'm not here to pile on. Now, I'm going to have some critical things to say of the LSU head coach, because she has done, in my opinion, she's done a very poor job of trying to back her team up. I know what she's trying to do.
Or diffuse a situation.
Yeah, that too. Yeah. She, relative to what I believe Carolina's coach did. And is there subjectivity involved in a lot of this? I'm trying to be as objective as possible in what I've watched and heard. Let's put it that way. But Elijah was there, firsthand account. We'll hear from you guys, 803-404-6100. It's the Monday postgame show. Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union, great people to work with when you are ready for any kind of brand new loan. Maybe it's a home equity line to renovate the kitchen, build a new bathroom. Maybe the family is growing, kids getting a little older. They need a playroom. Or you just need a place to, get them away from you for a while. Or for you to get away from them for a while. May have been there. No, I'm kidding. I love my children. But, whatever it is. And maybe it's a new credit card. Maybe it's a car loan. Maybe it's just that first mortgage. Paying down some other debt. Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union is ready to help you out. And as a local not-for-profit financial institution, they don't have shareholders. They're not paying dividends to stockholders. That gives you lower rates, fewer fees, better banking. 14 convenient Midlands locations for any and all of those needs, or you can apply online right now at palmettocitizens.org. My wife and I are customers. We love them. We think you will too. Palmetto Citizens. Achieve your potential.
But I can tell you this, I wish she would have pushed Angel Reese. Don't push a kid. You 6'8", don't push somebody that little. That was uncalled for, in my opinion. Let those two girls that were jawing, let them go at it.
I kind of just think I want that to hang in the ether and just let you guys just figure out how you want to interpret.
Can we give everybody microphones for this to respond to that?
That was Kim Mulkey. We by the way, and I thank our colleague Jeff Haley for sending me a tweet from a fan named Brent who hits us a lot, and Brent's a good tweeter. We'll play it later for you, but Kim Mulkey from earlier in the season when Angel Reese was involved in something similar to what happened yesterday. And believe it or not, Kim may have had a different take than what she had to say yesterday. Mark Kingston coming up in just a bit. By the way, real quick, congratulations. Coach Lamont Paris has just been named the Southeastern Conference Men's Basketball Coach of the Year. Very well deserved. I hope that was unanimous. I'm serious.
It should be.
I hope so.
If it wasn't, I'm open to hearing an explanation as to why.
I can appreciate the job Coach Golden has done in Gainesville, but come on. And I don't know if it was or wasn't. It probably should be. Rick Barnes has done a hell of a job too. I mean, way to go find Connect. But anyway, so that cut we played from Kim Mulkey, that's not how you, as Elijah said, how you diffuse this situation. So Elijah was in Greenville all weekend for the tournament, joined us, of course, Friday from the concourse and was there for Saturday and Sunday's game. And by the way, how about Saturday, man? Oh, my God.
I drove home Saturday night thinking we will not see a crazier moment in this tournament.
I mean, you were up,
wrong,
20?
35-12 was a 23-point lead.
23 points. Wow. And we haven't even talked about that, but we will. So, okay, I'm going to give it to you, man. And I know we only have a few minutes, but believe me, we're going to spend plenty of time on this through the course of the day. But Mark is with us every day at 3:30, so we will be doing baseball here in just a few. But take us through it from your own account as you watched what happened unfold.
So obviously we're getting to the point in the game where South Carolina's starting to pull away a little bit. LSU has been fighting back, and we've been kind of swapping 10-point deficits to 1 to 3, and Malaysia is on fire. She got the steal, and when Flage committed the foul, I remember thinking hard-ish foul. It's going to be an intentional 2 shots and ball. Game over. And I see Ashland walking over. I'm sitting across from them, not directly across. I'm pretty much in front of the South Carolina bench. And I'm watching it, and these teams have been jawing at each other all game. And it wasn't just LSU. Like South Carolina, I mean, both teams were in a highly competitive mode that made this game incredible to be on the floor with, because you can hear the players trash talking. You can hear them getting at each other when somebody's got the ball, like a defender's talking to another one. Like Malaysia, after every 3, pointed at the LSU bench. It was great showmanship. But you could kind of feel this tension the entire game, especially after Camilla got her lip busted underneath the Carolina basket from another hit to the face from Angel Reese. And
that was the second one, yes?
Yes. She got called for the first one.
Right.
And then I didn't see the hair pulling incident, but I seen the video.
I've seen the video.
And so we all can confirm that happened as well.
Yep.
It was getting to the point where we were reaching a breaking point. And the hard foul happens, and Ashland Watkins comes over, and I see her getting excited, as everybody on the team is. Everybody in the arena is excited because everybody knows exactly what's about to happen. They're about to hit 2 free throws, get the ball back, maybe hit a 3, go up by 15, game over, celebratory final, 120 seconds of this game. And as soon as Ashland walks by and I see the forearm shove, that was when the oh bleep meter in my head went off, where something's about to happen. And then by the time I could blink, Camilla was over there, Flage's on the ground, and the next thing I see is Flage's brother hop onto the floor, and a couple people around me are like, is that a security guard? I'm like, I don't think this guy's supposed to be here, because a police officer wouldn't rush him off the floor as quickly as they did. And I could see behind the scores table and the hockey barrier for the hockey team that plays there. Shout out the Swamp Rabbits. But I saw the security guard doing his best NFL offensive lineman impersonation and keeping about another charge of two men that were trying to come back onto the floor as well. And by that point, all hell is broken loose. We're separating players. A couple of players from LSU's bench did approach the scrum. Mm-hmm. A lot of South Carolina players stood up, maybe got a foot or two on the floor, maybe got to about the coach's box. And Alan Cole timed it. Shout out to Alan for having the wherewithal here to time the replay review. It did take 18 minutes to get this replay review done. And the entire time it's sorting, who's off the bench. What are we going to call the Flage foul? What are we going to do to Camilla? And ultimately, she got kicked out. The whole bench for LSU got kicked out. All but one. All but Sanaya Fagan got kicked out from the South Carolina bench. And it was a lot of confusion and a lot of boiled over frustration because the casual observer who didn't watch the entire game probably thought it was the hard foul that set everything off. It was the events of the entire game.
Yeah. It was building. There's no question. And again, Reese jawing a lot, which again, that's cool.
That made the game fun. The first half of the game was a lot of fun because of that.
Yeah, I mean that happens. I think most of us know that too. That happens every game all the time. People are jawing with each other. Sometimes you notice it, sometimes you don't. Sometimes it gets more animated. But there is video of Angel Reese pulling Camila Cardoso's hair. She did hit her in the face twice. Again, even after, as you just said, that 18-minute stoppage, Angel Reese was still jawing and doing the talking with her hand thing, and trying to instigate. Or if not, that's not fair. That's not fair. Let me pull back on that. Certainly, if not trying to instigate, she was certainly still trying to stay in the minds of Carolina players and get on them. And to Carolina's credit, I suppose, they were giving it right back. Again, that happens in sports. I don't have problems with the jawing and even a little nudge here or there. Guys, girls, football, basketball, baseball, whatever. That's part of it. But again,
especially in championship games.
Yeah. And there's a history that's been building. You think about last year's game in Columbia. You think about this year's game. LSU, let me tell you. All of you know now, but I mean that gym was silent when Bree Hall hit that second big three late. 13,000 people were basically at church at that point.
You have to check your TV to make sure you didn't mute it. On accident.
Yeah. I mean, and that hurt LSU. And LSU, they wanted that game yesterday, and I think they smelled blood in the water because Carolina was not at their best this weekend.
They saw another lead get erased quick. It went from 13 to about 3.
Yeah.
In the span of about 2.5 game minutes. Yeah. There was a time late in the game where there was a momentum swing that wasn't kind to the Gamecocks.
So, and that's what you want in sports. I want a good game.
Oh, it was awesome.
By the way, the line was 7.5.
Bad Beat City. Someone got some tickets to Bad Beat City.
Final score 79-72. Oh, I'll just leave it there. A lot of you want to talk about this. Please be patient with me. I'm going to get to you. I wanted you all to hear Elijah's firsthand account. We're setting things up for you. Coach Kingston scheduled for his regular Monday visit on the other side of the break. Gamecocks sweeping Longwood over the weekend. We'll talk to Mark, and then we'll open up the phones to you guys, whether you were there or not, and you just want to talk about this. We'll get you, I promise you, as the Monday post-game show rolls on. Love telling you about our good friends at Cato's Power Equipment, and that time of year is back. It's time to keep everything cut and looking nice, lush, green. Cato's is ready to go, and in fact, the last week of this month and into the first week of April, Cato's has their huge annual Mow the Distance sale. You'll get 15% off steel products, 10% off all parts, 20% off the suggested retail on virtually every commercial mower in stock at Cato's. Plus, they got some closeout models priced thousands below the normal sale price. So if you're looking for something new, get into Cato's as soon as you can. They are ready to help you out. Again, whether you, as I've said many times, you do it for yourself or you do it for a living, you get excellent sales, service, and advice at Cato's. Love what they've done for me and my family. You'll love them too. Family owned and operated since 1983. 4012 West Beltline Boulevard, always online at catospowerequipment.com. Time to talk a little Carolina baseball. The weekend sweep of Longwood, a 5-0 week after two tough losses to the Clemson Tigers. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell with you, and happy to have back on the program the head coach of the Gamecocks. He is Mark Kingston, who may or may not be glad that I'm back. I wasn't here last Monday when Elijah had to talk to him. So, but I'm back now. You want to go through with this, or you know, your choice.
Well, Elijah did a pretty good job in your absence. I will give him credit. So
Sure.
I thought it was a pretty well-oiled machine in your absence. So we'll go ahead and give you another shot, though.
Oh, well, thank you.
Your check will be in the mail in 3 to 5 business days.
I don't have my can of Radio WD-40 around, so we'll see how this goes. You scored a lot of runs this weekend. Can you recall at this point in the year, though, in your career as a player, an assistant, and a longtime head coach, where you've basically had 3 times as many walks as your opponents?
No, it doesn't happen very often. I don't know that I've ever seen it. But I think it was a combination of us having very, very good plate discipline. And towards the end yesterday, they were just running out of pitching and throwing guys out there that they probably just weren't ready to pitch at this level. So you put those two together and you get what you got yesterday.
I know fans and maybe even guys like us will make more of losing 2, 5, 4 games to your rival than you guys might. I mean, it's baseball. You lose. It hurts to lose any game. It hurts to lose to the rival, and it hurts to lose, including one of those in extra innings, Mark. But is there anything different that you might have told the guys coming back home from Clemson to get them ready for what was, as you pointed out in your postgame yesterday, a really strong 5-0 week?
Well, Jay, here's what I'll tell you. You missed the opportunity to talk about that series last weekend by skipping last Monday. So we covered all that stuff already last week without you. So we have already well moved on. We took a few lessons from the weekend. Of course, it was a rivalry weekend. We fell just short twice, but we did. You look into it. You look in the mirror. You see what you're doing well. You see what needs to improve. You see what tweaks you need to make, and we looked at all that, and we had some meetings with the players, coaches. We burnt the midnight oil trying to talk together and explore different things that we could do to help the guys. And I think you saw a better team this week. We're a better team this week than we were last week, regardless of who we're playing. And I think, that's the approach you have to take.
I suppose that the better question I should have asked you, Mark, is those things that you would have discussed, did you like how they came to fruition? See, that was my failure.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Right.
And, of course, I kid you on the last response. But, yeah, absolutely. Obviously, our pitching has been very, very good this year, much better than anybody even had predicted. And we all feel like we're going to have a very good offense. We just haven't hit our stride yet, 1 through 9 in the lineup. But I think we will, and I think we saw signs of that against a very underrated Longwood team. They're not an SEC team, but that's a team that went toe-to-toe with Kennesaw. And Kennesaw has had some really good series and is a really good team. So this was not a team that was just a pushover this weekend. This was a team that had really good pitching, especially front-end starting pitching, and I thought we did a really good job. So we have made adjustments. We have made tweaks, and that's what this game's all about. In the big leagues, they play 162. We play 56 in their regular season games, so there are ebbs and flows. There are areas where you think you have it figured out, and then you realize you don't, and you make adjustments, and you move on, and that process is ongoing all year.
And, Coach, I'll ask you about a question about baseball that did happen this weekend. We'll go ahead and talk. I want to talk about specifically Tyler Causey. Had a really solid game yesterday. The line, 2 for 3, 5 RBI, and 1 mammoth home run that is a danger to cars anywhere here in Columbia. But haven't got to talk about him as much so far this season. But how would you say he's coming along, and kind of rate the weekend that he had? Because statistically, yesterday he put on a pretty good show.
Yeah, he's a very talented guy. I think we've talked about him on the show before in terms of he took a year off from baseball. He played at North Carolina, was injury-riddled most of his career, but had been drafted out of high school. So he's a big guy. He's got elite power. That ball he hit yesterday was 111 miles an hour off the bat. He's a very talented guy. And so he's a guy that will be in our lineup most days. Because of taking the year off, He's been a little bit slow to adjust to left-handed pitching, but he's been absolutely dominant against right-handed pitching, and that's something we figured out about him as we've gone. So the challenge, in terms of making out our lineup is, do we just say, hey, he's too talented, let's let him figure it out against lefties and just roll him out there, or do we have a right-handed platoon with him? So that's the questions, that we're talking about as a staff is, hey, is he just too good? Do we just let him roll out there, play every day, and let him figure out the left on left, or do we platoon him? But he's going to be an important part of our lineup this year, and he already has been. Yesterday was proof of that, and he's a guy that I like writing in the lineup, that's for sure.
Talking to Gamecock head baseball coach Mark Kingston, his team went 5-0 on the week. They've got Georgia State tomorrow on a neutral field over in North Augusta, then travel to Oxford to open conference play against the Rebels. You had a .92 ERA this week, Mark, but I know you were in your postgame yesterday a little disappointed maybe in the defense in that fourth inning that allowed Longwood to bring a couple more across. Take us through still maybe having guys figure their roles out, where they're comfortable defensively, trust in the pitchers, or the pitchers trusting those defensive guys. Is that something that you need to preach about a lot, or will that work itself out?
No, that works itself out. Outside of that couple errors that steamrolled in that one inning that led to 3 unearned runs, the defense over the last I'd say 7 games has really solidified. And we were fielding about the 975 clip, which would make it an elite defense. And so Lee Croy has settled in. Tippett has been outstanding all year. Parker Noland is very, very solid, and Gavin Cassis is an above-average first baseman. So I think that's going to continue. Brewer and Petrie kind of lost the ball in the sun yesterday that fell in there. So a little bit of fluky stuff happening in that inning yesterday that we've already watched video with the team today and talked about some things to correct those. And I anticipate the defense being just fine. And the pitching has been more than just fine. The pitching has been very, very good all year and borderline. I think right now we're second in the league in pitching. So that's a testament to those pitchers and to Matt Williams and the jobs they're all doing.
You mentioned in postgame yesterday about wanting the guys to get back to basics as a team from a hitting perspective. And then you mentioned that, and you already told us once here that you kind of went over a few things for individuals. Take us through where that blend is between, what you might define as back to basics at the plate relative to you need to do this, you need to do that.
Well, you use the perfect word for it. It's a blend. And so what that means is you have to have certain things that you believe in as an offense that applies to everybody, and then you need to have certain things that are individualized to each hitter. And so the things that would be categorized as team approach or team value would be, we're going to use the whole field. We're going to be disciplined. We're going to hold our ground if they miss inside, and we're going to take some hit by pitches. We're going to be unselfish. We're going to take tough at bats. All those things apply to everybody. And sometimes maybe, guys can fall into getting a little bit pull happy or trying to hit home runs when a line drive will do. So, that's been a focus for the entire group. But then individually, you've got to look at each guy and what makes him work, what makes his swing be the best it can be. And so sometimes you look when they're struggling on their past video, but even more importantly, you can look at guys from when they've been doing really, really well and compare that to what they're doing now. And so just for an example, like a Parker Noland. Parker Noland's stance, this year had been pretty different than it was at Vanderbilt. And, that's a lot of times that's in an effort of players are just trying to get better and take another step in their development. And they want to add something to their game. But sometimes when you do that, you lose who you really are. And that may have happened a little bit with Parker. So Parker watched some video from when he was going really well last year. And it just affected, where his hands were, a little bit of the depth in his legs and how much he was crouching. And I thought he took great swings all weekend. And so that's kind of the individual approach that you have to have, but also the team approach. So they go hand in hand. And as you mentioned, you have to blend the two.
Last thing for you real quick. You know who tomorrow night's starter is?
We'll go with Copper again. He's been very good on Tuesdays for us, and we'll just continue to hope that he does what he's doing. He continues to get better and really evolve into that role as a starter. And so we'll go with him and, see how far he can go. But you'll see multiple pitchers. Again, we've got to continue to get guys in there. Our bullpen has been outstanding. So want to continue to try to use guys in situations that they can be successful.
Appreciate you as always. Safe travels this week. We'll talk soon.
Okay, thanks, guys.
You bet. That is Gamecock head baseball coach Mark Kingston, Carolina and Georgia State tomorrow from North Augusta. Your phone calls as the postgame show continues. Welcome back into the postgame show on this Monday afternoon. Thanks to Coach Kingston for joining us. Jay and Elijah with you. We've spent a lot of time today as well talking about Carolina LSU women's basketball yesterday. Not only the game, 79-72 win for Carolina to stay undefeated, win the SEC tournament championship again, as Forrest Gump would say, again. But, of course, an ugly scene with about 2 minutes to go yesterday when LSU's frustrations boiled over and Camila Cardoso maybe took her defense of a teammate a little too far. That's not really a maybe. She did. Again, she deserved to be kicked out. And several of you have been on hold here, so I want to get to you and appreciate your patience. Going to start with Ray on the guest line. Hey, Ray.
Hey, good afternoon, gentlemen. Good afternoon. Yeah. Just give me a little bit of time, Jay. I got to start with Saturday. First of all, Coach Paris, congratulations. Unbelievable. And, Jay, I tell you, I look back at our last 5 games. After that home loss, heart-crushing loss to LSU, we had 5 games left. And I believe we were dogs in all 5 of those games.
Believe you're right. Maybe not Florida. Was Florida? Maybe not, but yeah. Otherwise, certainly most of them. Yeah, if not all. You're right.
It was
right.
Yeah. I would say it was at best pick 'em games. But what I'm saying, to go 4-1 in those last 5 games, I mean that's tremendous.
Yeah,
that is absolutely tremendous. So kudos to them. And Saturday, Jay, I would say if you had heart issues, oh my goodness, the way the men's game came down, and the way the women's game against Tennessee came down. Lordy, my goodness, if somebody with a pacemaker, they probably had ambulances going to their residence, But anyway, what I do want to say, too, is that the Tennessee women's team from early January to the team now is a different team altogether. I mean, I think they could go deep in the tournament. I don't think they get to the Final Four, but I could see them being Sweet 16, Elite 8. I mean, I think they've improved that much. Okay, goodness. And then oh, my goodness. How many seconds were left in that game when the girl from Tennessee was at the free throw line? And she makes both free throws, it's over.
Three. Yeah, I say like 3.5, right? Not even? Yeah, not. Yeah.
I wonder how many fans walked away from the game. And I could understand. They turned the TV at that moment because I don't know what the ESPN composite was on percentage, but it had to be in the high 90 percentile that Tennessee was going to win that game from that point. I mean, it had to be 98% or that high. But anyway, just an unbelievable finish. I mean, so that was incredible. And then to get into Sunday, and oh my goodness, oh Lord, I mean, you're right. It's like we're going to pull away, and that happened. But the one thing I will say, I understand why Cardoso got what she got. That's deserving. Okay. But the thing is, her back, I mean, the young lady that threw the elbow, I mean, it was a haymaker. It wasn't just a push or a shove.
Right.
She meant to land that sucker to Ashton Watkins. And I just don't – I'm not just upset because my kids go to Cardinal Newman. But, I mean – and I think Cardoso from the back, she thought she nailed her, But she still shouldn't have acted that way. You can't do that regardless. You got to let the officials take care of that. The emotions got high. And goodness, I'll say one thing. I had no clue that Angel Reese was that type of player. I mean, to be so good and so dominant, but to be that chippy of a player, I mean, I tell you one thing, she's good and she's great, but she better change a little bit before she gets to the WNBA because they won't put up with this stuff. But
well, it'll be interesting to see. Yeah, thank you, Ray. Yeah, good comments all the way around. And look, Camilla was trying to back up a teammate and stand up for her, and it went too far. It did. Yes, Flau'jae Johnson did not need to act the way she did. And so if you want to say that's the instigation, it is. The way Dawn handled it versus the way Kim handled it, incredibly different. Kim was basically saying, I wish just 2 other girls had fought.
She basically condoned violence. Yeah. So she's like, I just fight in your weight class, and I would have liked to have seen it, is basically what she said. And Dawn actually showed some remorse over the incident and care for the sport.
Drew, I got to be real quick with you, but I want to give you a few seconds here, and what you got, bud? Hey, welcome in.
Real quick, you guys nailed it. You listen to her press conference, the absurdity, she starts with saying, there's no place for that in basketball. It shouldn't happen. Then she goes to the end and say, like you said, well, let the 2 press jaw and go at it. Essentially, let them fight. Right. I coach AAU travel basketball for girls 15 years old to 17 years old, and the absurdity of her post game, not only hers, I want to give Reese the respect but her post-game interview is just as absurd.
Mm-hmm.
And to call it a fight by Cardoso, I think is a little extreme. The verbiage, we can get into semantics. It wasn't a fight. Again, Cardoso got her medicine. But other people in the national media jump on Kim Mulkey's ass and ride her, because if that had been reversed, like y'all said, if Dawn still had made those comments, being an African American woman in the Deep South, she'd be crucified.
You may be onto something, and I'm up against it. But Kim's been roasted. Kim's been she's been roasted across the board. There's no doubt about that. Got to run. Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union, a local, not-for-profit financial institution. He tried to say in English, they're here to help you and your family with all of your financial needs. And as I've told you many times, they don't have stockholders like big banks. They're a credit union. That means they return earnings back to members as lower loan rates and fewer fees, whether it's a new credit card, a car loan, a mortgage, a home equity line, putting the kids through school, anything you need. Palmetto Citizens is ready to help you save, and they'll customize terms and payments to fit your needs and budget. Not a lot of big banks can do that. Palmetto Citizens will. My wife and I are proud customers of Palmetto Citizens. We use the Millwood branch. They've got 13 others all across the Midlands. You can apply for any of these loans online at palmettocitizens.org or stop into one of those branches. Remember this, Palmetto Citizens, you can achieve your potential.
players. It's all about the players being able to make plays on both sides of the basketball. I just want to apologize to the basketball community. When you're playing in championship games like this, in our league, things get heated. No bad intentions. They just try. Their emotions got so far ahead of them that sometimes these things happen. So I want to apologize for us playing a part in that, because that's not who we are and that's not what we're about. But I'm happy for the players that were able to finish the game and get us another championship.
Dawn Staley courtside yesterday as her Gamecocks beat LSU 79-72 to secure another SEC tournament championship. The Gamecocks will be the #1 overall seed in the NCAA tournament. They'll play the first couple of games here in Columbia. Against whom, you ask? We'll find that out on Sunday night. Camila Cardoso, who was ejected from the game, will also be suspended for that first NCAA tournament game. So she will not get going until the round of 32, presumably. If South Carolina beats the 16 seed that they will go up against inside Colonial Life Arena, which I expect them to do. But I expect them to win every game they play, for real.
Oh, yeah. It would be the biggest upset probably in the history of the sport if they were to somehow slip up.
I should know this. Okay, we know a 16's finally beaten a 1 in the men. Has a 16 beaten a 1?
Happened in the women's game before the men's game.
Who was it?
I want to say it was in like 2006 or 2007, but I do remember that it happened. I want to look that up. It's fun trivia here, but I don't foresee that history repeating itself.
Elijah was on hand yesterday. We heard his firsthand account, and I know that on line 5, John was also in the gym yesterday. I say the gym, the arena. Gym is a more colloquial term. But John was there from a fan perspective. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
I know you travel a lot to these games, so you feel the energy in a lot of different venues. Take us through it from a fan like you that goes to a lot of these ball games and what you saw.
Hey Jay, thanks for having me. It was wild. I mean, after the first game, the A&M game, with all the turnovers and everything, and then that insane finish on the Tennessee. I heard Ray earlier, or somebody earlier, ask if people were leaving. The folks that sat behind us took off. We sat there. I'll admit we were gathering our stuff up. And then Camilla hits that huge shot. I don't think I've yelled that loudly at a game. It was just insane. The LSU, the way they really handled Ole Miss, and they handled their first, I think it was Auburn. They scored the first 21 points, and so they were rolling, but you could see it before the game. You could really see it, in the game, Haley Van Lith looked like she was throwing an elbow every time she got near the ball. Certainly Cardozo and Reese were mixing it up, and they were talking, and both of them were talking to each other. And Reese smack-talked our bench, so Full Wiley smack-talked their bench. So did Raven. Full Wiley and Raven both did the sort of the low hand to Haley, and
too small.
Yeah. You could just feel it. You could just feel it, and the refs had no control. They absolutely had no control. That first elbow that Reese threw, she should have been ejected. She should have been ejected. It was not a basketball play. She went up towards the face, but they called it a flagrant one, and that's that. And so, but you just knew it. And Mulkey was not trying to take control. It looked like Dawn was trying to kind of calm her players down. But, Jay, our players were giving us just like they were getting. So, and it was up to the refs to take control of that game. When the intentional foul happened, Flo J committed the intentional foul, I had a feeling that was the game. I mean, I'm a math guy, so I look at numbers and possible possessions, and I knew if we got to 75, the game was going to be over. And Full Wiley was breaking for a layup when Flo J grabbed her. Yeah. And, she's blown a few layups, but she wasn't going to blow that one. And then I saw Camilla go and just level Flo J after the push at Watkins. And I just turned to my wife and said, she's gone. She is gone. I my stomach sank because I thought, well, there are going to be a lot of free throws shot here. Hopefully people can make them. I remember an old game years ago against Louisville where there were all these technical fouls shot in the last minute 12, and Louisville made up. I think they hit all of theirs, and we missed all of ours in the men's game and lost. And that just flashback just came to me. I did see our players leave the bench. They left the area. They should not have been on the floor. I saw theirs too. I did not see Flo J's brother, but I saw a couple of other folks come over and get pushed back. But it was just insane. And then it sort of calmed it while the refs were looking, and then the LSU fans started chanting LSU, and so we of course rose USC and drowned them out. But it really was disturbing. It was I was glad to hear Dawn's comments. I was very it did not surprise me what Mulkey said. That did not surprise me. For her to encourage violence, for her to say, try doing that with Angel Reese and let the girls who got into it do it. You can't, the NCAA or the league or somebody needs to address that.
I agree with that. I agree with you on that one, John. And I do wonder, Elijah and I were talking this morning before the show. I wonder if the Southeastern Conference is done with this. I think they probably are, but sometimes we don't hear about those things until Tuesday in any sport, because on Monday they actually go over it. So I think they're probably done, but somebody just tagged me on Twitter with the video of Angel Reese pulling Camilla's hair and elbowing her twice, and tagged Greg Sankey too. Not that that's going to help necessarily, but Greg will at least see it, So, but he was there. He was there.
He had a good seat.
Yeah, I saw him. He was sitting right down, and he was sitting right down in front of us. Ray, by the way, Ray had a soccer game on. But in any event, we were enjoying, because by then you could kind of tell that Carolina had regained control. And Angel was limping. I mean, she had aggravated her ankle. Look, I don't care much for her, but that girl's got guts. She really does. But having said that, my wife Michelle and I have been to games, and we started going to the women's tournament back in Little Rock. We've been to Jacksonville. We've been to Greenville. We've been to Nashville. And Greenville does it right. They really do. And, of course, the place is full of Gamecock fans, but so was Little Rock, and so was Jacksonville, and so was Nashville. Dawn has really built something here, and the character and the culture of what she's built was not on display in that last 2 minutes and 8 seconds of the game. I mean, the game it was, but right at that moment.
Right.
And she addressed it. Camilla addressed it. And Dawn mentioned that she talked to Flo J right at the end, and that shows the character that Dawn Staley has.
Yeah, and I thought for Flo J Johnson to come and speak as well. John, thanks for the phone call, buddy, and the firsthand account. Always,
all right, thanks, Jay.
Yes, sir. Always good when you chime in. I do appreciate you very much. That young lady did apologize to Dawn, and Dawn accepted it graciously. And that's why I say, what Dawn had to say relative to what Kim Mulkey had to say. And look, I've listened to a broader clip of Kim Mulkey, and it doesn't really change the context of the shorter clip. It really doesn't. And what I'm about to say, I'm not defending Kim Mulkey. And I told Elijah I was going to say this. I'm not defending Kim Mulkey, so I just want y'all to hear me. I think she really did want him to fight. I think that's who she is. Now, I'm not saying she wants them to go bare knuckle and make each other bleed and get on the floor and have to call the doctors and paramedics.
You're saying she's Jerry Springer.
But I sort of. Like, I think that's who she is. Like, that's just my opinion. It may be an absurd take. I don't know. But I'm not defending her. You're a coach at a high level. You're a 3-time national champion. You do have a lot of respect for the job you do. But I think she was serious. And whether you believe that, whether that's who you are, some people just might. I mean, you want to fight about it? I mean, we've all met that guy or now that lady. I mean, we all have. I got a couple of buddies that used to be that way. I won't say their name, but it'd be like, yeah, that's my name. You want to fight about it?
Or
like
the other person who's like watching two people argue and be like, man, you guys aren't going to fight. It'd be a shame if anything were to happen.
Yeah, I mean, and it's even if you believe it between your ears, you have. I mean, I got to say this, Kim. You got to fake it in public. So again, I'm not defending her when but that's sort of what I get to. I wish she'd have pushed Angel. I think she meant that. I'm serious.
Oh yeah. Oh well, she didn't fake anything.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think she meant that, and I was like, whoa. And to a caller from the previous hour, Ray. That's why I said at the top of the show, I've not seen anything yet. Now, there may be an LSU fan or some people in Baton Rouge or New Orleans that are taking her side. But from a national perspective, I mean, I know the guys at Barstool Sports. I saw that one. And, typically they got some wild take. They don't like her. Shannon Sharp went after her.
Shannon Sharp tore her to pieces on First Take today.
And others have. I mean, I've read 2 columns. One in USA Today. Where was the other one? Was it The Athletic? I can't remember now. Well, anyway, I read 2 different columns this morning that were basically taking her to task for a lack of sportsmanship and accountability. There's a cut. Do we have? We won't play it right now. We'll play it in a minute. But do you have the one I sent you?
Oh, the one that you tweeted.
Yeah.
Our friend Brent.
Yeah.
On Twitter, who I want to give my man some credit. He found the receipts.
Yeah, to find that one. Yeah.
He's got I got it pulled up. Actually,
well, you know what? We got time here. But this was about a month ago, give or take, after an incident with Angel Reese and the LSU team. Play that one.
Down one time in front of our bench, and she tried to get up and she hit the girl again, and then Angel got a piece of her on the way down. Angel wasn't going to let that girl do that to her teammate. Y'all probably didn't see it, did you? Huh? Okay? It was like, you just did that to my teammate. I'm going to give you a body check right here. Not dirty. That's just, I got your back, teammate. And that's how you build what you ask about as you go down this road in February. It's just good team chemistry. Down.
Okay. So that was not against South Carolina, and that was about a month ago. Again, let's play what Kim said yesterday. Uh, 30. Thank you. Sorry.
But I can tell you this. I wish she would have pushed Angel Reese. Don't push a kid that you 6'8". Don't push somebody that little. That was uncalled for, in my opinion. Let those 2 girls that were jawing, let them go at it.
So, because of Flau'jae Johnson's size relative to Camila Cardoso, Camila having her teammates back is unacceptable in Kim's opinion, and she'd rather see her go big to big against Angel Reese. But the having your teammates back part of the equation is no longer applicable? Is that basically what Kim is saying? There's no place for that?
Yeah, you can only have your teammates back if it involves fighting someone in your weight class.
I mean,
I just want to see the heavyweights, Jay. That's it. That's all.
Look, oftentimes we see that the person who responds is the one who gets in the most trouble. Happens in football all the time. And it happened to Camila yesterday. And again, Camila was rightly punished. There's no doubt about that. But where's Kim Mulkey on what Flau'jae Johnson did? Dawn's talked about it. Why hasn't Kim? 803-404-6100. You're listening to the Postgame Show. It's pool season, and living in South Carolina, that season's a lot longer than it is in other parts of the country. And if you don't have one yet, time to call Pete Alewine and the experts over there. They'll come into your backyard, see what's up, like you've heard on some of their other commercials, whether it's a standard pool or maybe you and the family are ready to go big time, like with a whole resort-looking pool. Pete Alewine Pool and Spa can get it done for you. And from start to finish, they will be with you to ensure that dream becomes a reality and stays a reality. Because, see, once they build it, they can help you service it, keep it clean. Stop in and see what they can do for you. 5541 Sunset Boulevard. They can, even if you already have a pool, provide you with free water tests or a vinyl replacement if you have a vinyl pool. Whatever you need, they've got it done for you when it comes to swimming pools and hot tubs in the backyard. Check them out online, PeteAlewinePools.com. Like the two beverages, ale and wine, it's Pete Alewine Pool and Spa. Get ready for pool season for many years to come. And as I've urged you many times, invite Elijah and me over to jump in. Pete Alewine.
I'll do it.
Welcome back into the post-game show on this Monday afternoon. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell with you, talking a lot about Carolina LSU and the aftermath of an ugly incident that occurred with about 2 minutes to go yesterday in Greenville before the Gamecocks held on for their 79-72 win. We'll get back on the phones in just a second. Ryan hit me on Twitter and had some interesting things to say here. He said, Dawn deserves the statue we're going to build for her. She's a monument to the game, he said. Then he got into these points. On the fight, he made 4 points. I like them all. Number one, Reese on Cardoso just prior should have been a flagrant 1 minimum, he says. Would have been her second. She would have been ejected. Reese, he means. And that's accurate, yes?
Yep, because she was issued the flagrant for the first hand to the head and neck area of
Ryan also believes that Flau'jae Johnson's elbow could have been called fighting, and she could have been disqualified. Could have been. That might have been a stretch, but certainly she got it. She got a flagrant foul.
She did. Mm-hmm.
Now, take me through where officials these days are with flagrant fouls relative to technical, because a technical foul basically counts as 2 personal fouls.
Yes,
a flagrant does not.
Right. A flagrant foul is basically there are like 3 classes of fouls. There's your personal foul, flagrant 1, flagrant 2. They all count as a singular foul.
Right.
Only the technical is where it will count.
And help me out here. Typically, the flagrant foul is something that is called through the course of a game where you've basically played too hard. That's the nutshell version.
Or you are not making a play on the ball and you get, like you said, maybe a little too caught up in something, or maybe it is unsportsmanlike. I mean, the flagrant 2 is basically like what you did is assault.
Yeah.
And we're not going to.
Why is that not a? See, I was sitting here questioning why Flau'jae Johnson's elbow towards Ashland wasn't a technical foul. I don't know enough about what today's officiating is in terms of how they want to do that. So I don't know if it would have been fighting, Ryan. But I do think a technical foul might have been warranted. That's my opinion.
And there was another play, too, that we're not talking about because it didn't land. But earlier in the first half, Anissa Morrow did grab a rebound, and in order to shove a Gamecock off of her, she slung her arm. It didn't connect.
Right.
It would hit nothing but air.
Right.
You know, it would have been strike 1 if we were playing baseball. But if she were to have landed that, I think that probably would have gotten kicked out. There were like 3 incidences in the game in which you could tell the physicality and maybe the jawing was getting to a point where we were going to have an explosion.
Yeah. Point 3 Ryan makes on Twitter, Cardoso's push and disqualification was correct. Yes, it was. She deserved to be kicked out of the game. 4, he says, Van Lith comes on late and pushes Cardoso. Only difference is that she is tiny. So, and in my opinion, that's not different than Cardoso, and she should have been disqualified. I agree with that. I mean, Haley Van Lith did come over, and again, yeah, she's a foot shorter than Camilla, but looks up at her like, nah, you don't do that. And, Camilla's just kind of staring down at her at that point, like, whatever.
Almost kind of like surprised if you've ever been bitten in the ankle by a chihuahua.
Right. That's kind of
what it looks like.
Yeah. He says the refs tried to balance the teams at 5, but forgot about Pow Pow. So Dawn, after the announcement, says, wait a second, Pow Pow didn't clear the bench because she was checking in, which was correct. Tahina was waiting to come in at that moment. Look, I thought Flau'jae Johnson should have also been ejected from the game because it was really, she had her intentional foul as part of the game. And I understand why she did that. It was born of 2 things, frustration and the stoppage of an easy bucket. And that happens, look, in football, you'll get a PI. You'll see a guy who knows he's been beat. He'll go ahead and get a PI because at least you don't score on that play. In soccer, a guy will get a yellow card for that all the time. If a guy's just beating it, if you beat your man, you'll grab a guy's shirt in soccer, you'll stick a foot out, you'll get a yellow card because if it's between that and a dude having an open look, at least make him earn it. And so I know why Flau'jae in the moment did the intentional foul. And again, I think there were multiple things. But what she did to Ashland should not, in my opinion, be called a flagrant foul. That should be a technical foul. And I do think that is something that is, depending on the subjectivity of the officials in that moment, Elijah, I think that's something that could warrant an ejection from the game. That, in my opinion, is going too far. So now I know multiple people were ultimately ejected. Camilla will serve the harshest punishment in that she misses the next game. I don't know if any of these LSU girls missed the next game.
I don't think so.
I don't think they do. That was erroneously reported on ESPN, and they did correct that about a minute or two later.
After inciting fear.
Yeah, and from both teams. Because it was basically South Carolina's going to have 6 players for their game, and LSU's going to have 5. And I was like, there's no way they're going to make them do that.
Well, in a way, LSU kind of only does have 5 anyway. Well, they don't have much of a bench to begin with.
They don't. The only real beef I have is how they labeled Flau'jae Johnson's flagrant foul. I would have risen that to the level of technical.
Yeah.
But again, maybe I'm just.
So as an official, too, if your job is to help diffuse the situation, keeping the instigator in doesn't really feel like you're doing your most to diffuse the situation. I think if one player, if LSU had a Sanaya Fagan that stayed on the bench and didn't disqualify herself, and we could have had, Flau'jae kicked out of the game as well, and you could put somebody in to replace her and then have 5-on-5 basketball, I think that we might be saying a different story. Maybe Johnson doesn't see the end of that game. It just ended up not being that way, that the entire team got onto the floor and got themselves disqualified.
Let's get to Mike up next on the Love Chevy phone lines. Mike, thanks for your patience on a busy day, buddy. How you doing?
Hey, good, guys. Thunder was stolen off of Twitter, but wanted to bring up a couple of points and ask a couple of questions. Go to Reese and her intentional foul, as it was called. They didn't even call it a flagrant when they announced it, when the officials announced it on television.
Right.
They called it an intentional foul. If Camilla had gotten her bloody lip from that and fallen to the ground, do you think then maybe she would have been ejected?
Ooh. Yeah, I mean, in other words, if Camilla sells it a little more, is that kind of where you're taking it? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know what
Camilla's 6'8".
Yeah.
Strong as an ox.
Right.
She's a big girl, and she's not going to buckle from something like that. But that was as blatant as you could be, and you could almost tell that Angel Reese has practiced that move because she tried to make it look like her arm was going straight up, knowing that Camilla's head was going to stop the forward progress of her arm.
Yeah, Angel knew what she was doing. I agree with you on that. I think Angel knew what she was doing. Yeah, I do agree with that.
So where do you think she gets that from? Maybe Miss Mulkey. But anyway, the pulling of the hair, if that's caught, that's a flagrant, at least one, because it has nothing to do with a basketball move. It is intentional retribution for just getting your butt whooped. And, the bloody lip, obviously no foul was ever called on that. Then you look at what Camilla goes through under the boards yesterday. Again, Camilla's big. She's strong. Their players drive into her. She never budges, never even brings her arm past vertical. They bounce off of her and flop to the floor, so she gets called for 2 of her 4 personal fouls. She didn't do anything, but they call it anyway. So she's been abused basically the entire game. I do not condone what she did. She doesn't condone what she did. Dawn doesn't condone what she did. But I sure as heck understand what she did.
I do too. I do too. And that's a good phone call, Mike. And again, thanks for your patience, man. And you do make a good point, especially that first one. Yeah, if Camilla's and I'm not saying so sell it a little harder. I don't mean it that way. But again, I don't think it's in Camilla. And she is
tough.
She is, man. And again, she's big. I know women don't like us to talk about them like that and that kind of thing, right? Like, I'm not saying it that way, but she's big. I mean, she's bigger than most people, period. End of story.
She's the most physically imposing player in the sport.
Yeah. But she stands her ground in a good way. And Angel did know what she was doing. And maybe that is something that other coaches talk about, too. Like, there's only one way you just got to go straight at this girl. And sometimes I do wonder if officiating crews don't give her the benefit of the doubt because of her size. Again, there's so much subjectivity when it comes to those kinds of things. Full bank of phone calls. Get back to you guys as the postgame show continues.
We'll go and get you a word from my friends over at Underdog Fantasy. My friends, the NBA season is still here, and there's no easier way to get in on the action than one of my new favorite games, Underdog Fantasy and their Pick'em game. It is a fantasy game, but you can win real money, and I have already just by playing it, and here's how it goes. Quick synopsis here. You pick 2 to 5 players from at least 2 different teams. You select higher or lower on those players' stats, and if your picks hit, depending on what you pick, you can win up to 100 times your money. It's pretty sweet. I do love picking higher or lower totals on points, rebounds, and assists. I made pretty good money this weekend on Cade Cunningham points, assist, and rebound props right there. Easy to play, easy to maneuver on the app, and if you use the promo code 1075, Underdog will match your first deposit up to $100, plus they'll give you a mystery special pick to use in your first entry. You must be 18 plus. Do download. Present in the state where Underdog Fantasy operates, like here in South Carolina. Terms apply. Concern of your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER. From the WIS Traffic Center, I'm Elijah Campbell with a couple of accidents to get to you that might be causing some delays on the roadways here this Monday afternoon. We'll start here in Richland County. Stop-and-go traffic has been reported on US 176 near Broad River Road eastbound between St. Andrews Road and I-20. In Lexington, West Columbia specifically, an accident's been reported on Gardner's Terrace Road at US 321. An accident's also been reported on Highway 6 near Irmo Drive. One more in Lexington County. An object on the roadway is causing some traffic backup over on I-20 westbound at Longs Pond Road near Exit 51.
Reacting to yesterday's Carolina-LSU women's basketball game in Greenville as Dawn Staley's #1 Gamecocks took another SEC championship, 79-72 winners over LSU. But the story of the game was never a fight. It What do we call it? A dust-up?
A Donnybrook.
A fracas?
A brouhaha. Letting the kids play.
Yeah. Dawn, very apologetic. Kim Mulkey, not so much.
The exact opposite, I guess, of apologetic.
Kim's like, I wish she had pushed Angel Reese. All right. I mean, again, Kim, I really do. I don't think she can help herself. I think she genuinely believes what she said. I do.
Yeah, her stupid filter doesn't work very well. That's like somebody, like if you walked up, after a game like that and say, I'm the coach, Jay, and you're my SID. Jay, I'll tell you what, man, I wish I saw these guys fight.
Yeah,
I wish he pushed one of our big players.
Coach,
you'd be like,
yeah, Coach, I would maybe not if a reporter asks you, hey, listen, it was the heat of the moment, but certainly we don't condone that kind of situation, Coach, and that's what you need to say.
I don't believe that. I can't say. I
realize you don't believe that, Coach.
Jay, you can't stop me. I'm going to do it. My stupid filter's not on. And that's what happened yesterday. The stupid filter was not on.
I would imagine her SID is scared of her. I doubt the SID said anything.
I can imagine that's the worst job in the industry.
Kim,
I know you want to say that, but you can't.
Right.
I'm going to.
I know. Well, and that's just
I'm going to.
Yeah. Joe hit me real quick and said, hey, Jay, if they changed the rule in soccer, there used to be a red card if you fouled a player with the ball who had an unimpeded path to the goal. Yes, if there is a direct goal-scoring opportunity that is denied, that is a red card. But what my point was, Joe, more of like at midfield, and maybe there's still a defender back there, but you grab a guy knowing he's basically going to have a one-on-one, that's going to be a yellow card. Yeah, if there is the denial of an obvious goal-scoring opportunity, that's a red card. Yeah.
Not quite the Luis Suarez, but a minor version of it.
So, but that's why I say I think what Flaugier yesterday did, if I were to put it into a soccer context, that would be a yellow card. But then, since she had a yellow card, and then she maybe got mad at the player who she fouled the first time, and then she fouled another player with an elbow, when play is dead, I'm giving her a second yellow card, which in soccer equals a red card, and you are ejected. That's my point about what Flaugier Johnson did. Again, Camilla, straight red.
Oh, yeah. You don't get a warning for that one.
That's straight red. And Camilla knows that. Dawn knows that. Keith is up next. Again, Keith, like many of you today, thank you so much for your patience, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. How y'all doing today?
Doing all right, man. It's a day, man. I didn't envision this.
Well, I've been sitting in my office for an hour listening and have enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Most of the comments have been made, but my immediate thought, when you look at what Dawn had to say, and I go back, and I won't name the young girl's name, but Dawn's second year where she got the big recruit out of Texas, I will say that.
Yep.
And she come in and was a discipline problem, and she sent her packing. One thing we can consistently say is that she has handled the team in a way that, is respectful, high character and integrity. And if anybody's played contact sports, in the heat of the moment, you're going to do things that later you might regret. But I find LSU's comments, Mulkey's comments, just appalling. And, think about it. Anybody that dresses up the way she does, like trick-or-treat, Halloween's every game, is somebody that's drawing attention to themselves. And then to make those kind of comments, it just speaks about the two difference in the coaches. Now, you can't deny what Mulkey's done, but I haven't heard what the overall response has been from the media. But I've only heard what y'all said. But
if you can look it up, I tell you, Keith, and thanks for the phone call, buddy, and the kind words. We always appreciate you, man. Again, what I have seen, and I'm not sitting here poring over a lot of it, but what I have seen today is overwhelmingly critical of Kim Mulkey and is very praiseworthy for Dawn. Dawn twice. Dawn immediately on the court on ESPN. And remember, this was not an SEC Network game yesterday. This was on ESPN. So immediately there on ESPN, Dawn is apologetic and did it on her own because the reporter's first question at courtside was about the game, and Dawn just took it upon herself to immediately get into it. So she didn't even wait to be asked. And then actually Malaysia was asked, you were in postgame, Malaysia was actually asked a question about it, and Dawn, not in like a stern way. She was like, Dawn was like, because Malaysia, I think, was kind of like,
Malaysia looked over at Dawn like, do you want to take this?
Yeah, and Dawn said, I'll answer it. And then Dawn went a few minutes because typically the way it works, in especially in tournament settings like that, is because you've got two teams. I mean, you do this in postgame anyway, but they'll have the players and the coach up there together, but the players will go first, and then they'll excuse the players, and then the coach will have his or her time. But Dawn basically took some time, not from Malaysia, but I think Dawn was basically saying, yeah, that's my question to answer. That's not, don't ask my 18-year-old freshman. Ask her about the game. Don't ask her about the other stuff. And then Dawn repeated her apology and the way she wants her team to handle. And she says, we've talked about it. And she, like Kim, did say, and this is, again, it isn't a defense of Kim Mulkey, but, and we've heard a bunch of you guys that have called in today. This is sports. This happens. This is why, and I'm not joking when I'm saying it with a smile on my face, but this is why hockey dudes don't. Now, a couple of dudes have been arrested in the past, I will say, but it's incredibly rare. But this, fights. When a dude plunks a dude in baseball, you see guys push and shove in football. We're okay with it up to a point because it's competitive. You don't want it to get out of hand. And I remember that dude for the Devils that came and that dude went to court in Canada and got bad. He I don't know if he went to jail, but
there have been some ugly incidents.
Yeah, some things can cross, and some things I think are I'm like, that's assault. I don't care that it's the heat of the moment. Like when you're swinging football helmets and stuff, like that crosses a line. Like that Michigan thing, like that, like that
stomping in the tunnel.
Like you can't, that's not. That crosses a line. But overwhelmingly today, it's like, Kim Mulkey, what the hell are you saying that for? And like I said earlier, I'm not defending her. I don't think she can. I think she genuinely would just as soon have seen them. This is like, for those of a generation gone by, and maybe some people still do this, but I've talked to guys that are about my age, our dad would just give us a pair of boxing gloves and make us go out in the backyard. And it basically taught us two things. One, that's sometimes you got to settle your differences, but two, maybe you better settle your differences before you have to get your butt kicked.
Yeah. That can be a hard lesson to learn.
Right? And is that sort of what Kim was condoning? I don't know. But again,
Kim
she did not handle it well.
She got overly emotional.
Yeah, she did not.
She came off sounding like, when you're in middle school and two kids are about to fight and things are finally getting squashed and we're not getting to that point, someone goes, oh, man, I was waiting for some action. And then it ends up, getting worse. Because if these teams meet again in the Final Four or the NCAA championship, heaven forbid, and we get some jawing back and forth.
Dude, heaven forbid. I don't know, dude. ESPN is selling the you-know-what out of that.
You know exactly what Kim Mulkey's going to be saying to them. I don't think it's going to be a tone of, hey, let's keep our heads in the game. It's let's knock someone out. It very well could be.
It'll be like 8 refs.
And I know our callers have done a really good job saying this. This LSU's performance yesterday was a reflection of how her coach coaches them.
Yeah.
It's not a coincidence. If it happened once, if there's one incident, you can excuse as a one-off. If there's two, you can excuse it as this game's just a little chippier than usual. But we cited about 4 incidents of flagrant fouls and almost flagrant fouls, or should have been flagrant fouls, in this game. And I think that's a reflection on her attitude towards her players and that game.
Yeah. And it sets a tone for officials that can not necessarily be great for a particular game of basketball. More of y'all's phone calls as the post-game show continues. Welcome back into the postgame show on this Monday afternoon. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell with you. Coming up in the final hour of the program, headlines of the day at 5 o'clock. We'll get into a lot of Carolina men's basketball. Talked a lot of women's basketball today about the game and the extracurricular activity. Drive around the SEC and more coming up for you. Back on the phones we go. Brian is up next. Hey, Brian.
Hey, man, I got a comment and a question about the league. I know everybody's talked about every aspect of this, but my comment is I have watched LSU play several times this year just because I was hoping that somebody could upset them. Because I just don't like the way they play. They play that way in every game. I call them ghetto, and that's just my word. And after the foul on Cardoso, when she slung her arms up, I don't know if y'all saw it, but they showed Reese sitting on the bench trying to explain to either a coach or a player that she did throw her arms straight up. She was sitting over there telling a blatant lie. I mean, and she was serious, saying that she did not throw her elbow, that she threw her arms straight up. And it was just as flagrant as it could be. But like I said, they've done that all year long. That's just who they are. They want the attention. My question for y'all is, with Mulkey's comments and the way the NCAA is with coaches commenting on refs and all that kind of stuff, don't they have to say something or do something to Mulkey? I mean, she's inciting fighting. She's basically telling her players it's okay. And I'll hang up and listen.
I don't know. And I hate to give you that answer. Like I say, there's a lot that could be reviewed here. I don't know what the rules. She didn't criticize the refs, and I'm certain that she feels if she was going to be pressed on this, and she will be asked about this again at some point. Well, that's not what I meant. What I mean is, and I was like, no, what you said was, now what you mean, why don't you say what you mean? My hunch, Brian, though, is that this is done. Again, several of these young women were kicked out of yesterday's game. Camilla will pay the biggest penalty. There should have been more done, as I've said now. There should, and I don't know. I mean, can you go back and review some of these things? Again, like what nothing was really called other than a foul when Camilla got her lip split? Right?
Yeah, so a regular foul.
Yeah. Again, Flau'jae Johnson, I think, like I said, to put it into soccer parlance, I think she got 2 quick yellows. I think she should have been ejected from the game as well. I doubt they're going to do anything else. I think they've done what they're going to do. Now, does a Greg Sankey or someone like him or some other person, I don't know, send a letter to LSU?
If he's doing his job, he gives her a phone call.
Yeah,
and say, hey,
Kim, like, you can't listen. I get it, heat of the moment. I get it. This is sports. Yeah, but you can't do that.
Which
but even she might look at Greg Sankey and go, well, I did it. And if it happens again, I'm going to do it again.
Well, she probably responded with, Greg, what, you want to see those 2 big girls fight too? Right. I mean, that's probably what we'd end up getting. But if Greg Sankey's doing his job, you give her a call and say, look, this is a bad look for the league. You saying that's a bad look for the league. There's a chance you can meet them again in the big tournament, and we're not going to have this. We're not going to play this way. I mean, if you're doing your job as a commissioner, you got to be able to set something straight. You cannot let that just simmer and then we possibly meet again in 2-3 weeks and have something even worse than what transpired on the floor there.
Is LSU going to be a 2 seed?
Probably not. I think they'll probably be like a 3.
3?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm they'll always tell you that the committee doesn't have any influence from the TV people. But I think TV wants this rematch.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you want this rematch?
And TV wants Iowa and Carolina as well. Now, Iowa's going to be a 1, so that would have to happen in the Final Four again. Yeah, and I'm not predicting that's what they're going to do, but,
LSU might get over or underseeded in order to maybe concoct a matchup. I don't think that's too far off base.
Headlines of the day, some big news for Lamont Paris. And we'll talk a lot about that win on Saturday and look ahead to this week's men's tournament, drive around the SEC and more, all coming up in the final hour of the postgame show. Before that, let me tell you about my great friends at AAA Heating and Air. They're very excited to let you know this, by the way. In addition to all the great work they do for your HVAC systems, whether it's a brand new one, whether it's making a repair, whether it's ductwork cleaning, anything like that, AAA now provides professional and residential electrical services. That includes panel upgrades, lighting installation and repair, generator installation. So in addition to all they do to keep you nice and comfortable, climate-wise, now, maybe you need some outdoor lighting, like accent lighting or floodlights around the house. Maybe you want a generator for when the power goes out and, thunderstorms and such. Just log on to callAAAtoday.com to learn more, or you can call them up at 803-677-1500. And again, I urge you to get your AC checked because, it's getting ready to get and stay hot around here for a while. Tell them Jay Phillips sent you. Call AAA Heating and Air.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell with a few accidents to report to you that might be causing some delays on the roadways this afternoon. We'll start here in Richland County. Some stop-and-go traffic reported on US 176 near Broad River Road, eastbound between St. Andrews Road and I-20. In Lexington County, accidents have been reported on Highway 6 near Irmo Drive, I-20 westbound at Longs Pond Road near Exit 51, and US 321 near I-26. And in Richland County, we have accidents on I-26 westbound at Bush River Road, US 176 near Broader Road at I-20. And we also have one accident reported at US 378 at Lower Richland Boulevard. And lastly, an object on the roadway is what is causing a traffic delay on I-20 westbound at Longs Pond Road.
And it is time for the 5 o'clock news on this Monday. Jay and Elijah with you. It's also the final hour of the postgame show. Welcome back in. We've been talking a lot today about Carolina's win over LSU, 79-72. South Carolina wins another Southeastern Conference Tournament championship, but the game marred by some ugly scenes late in the game after LSU's Flau'jae Johnson did not like Malaysia Fulwiley stealing the ball from her, intentional foul, and then Ashlyn Watkins got up near Flau'jae and was excitedly screaming, and Flau'jae took offense to that and gave Ashlyn a little forearm shiver, and then Camila Cardoso didn't like that, and she came and knocked Flau'jae to the ground, and then Haley Van Lith didn't like that, and she tried to do something to Camila, but that didn't really work. And then the benches cleared a little bit, and then Flau'jae Johnson's brother jumped over the retaining wall, which didn't do much retention.
Yeah, it's a little misleading.
It took me like 3 times.
Got to fire the retention wall.
It took me like 3 times. Now, they showed the replay, a bunch of times, because, again, it was, what'd you say, an 18-minute delay. I kept calling it 20, but okay, 18.
What's the difference?
But it took me to like the 3rd or 4th time. I kept seeing the cop jump the table. And it's just because there were so many people so quickly, and I was like, oh, no, okay, there he is. That young man was arrested, charged by the Greenville City Police with disorderly conduct and 3rd-degree assault and battery. And as of about noon today, had not posted bail. I imagine by now he has, but I do not know that. And I have not, honestly, to be honest with you, I have not checked. But if you are wondering, that was Flau'jae Johnson's brother. He's 24, I believe. And he was arrested. There had been an initial report released through LSU, I might add, that said he was only escorted from the building and that he was not arrested. That was quickly proven false. He was arrested and again charged, as I said, with disorderly conduct and 3rd-degree assault and battery. Camila Cardoso will miss South Carolina's NCAA tournament opener, against whom we do not yet know. That will be known Sunday night. Carolina will be the number 1 overall seed, so they will be seeded up against the 4th of 4 16 seeds. I don't mean this in any kind of flippant way. South Carolina should be able to survive without Camila for a game. Hell, they survived without her against Connecticut. I think they'll survive without her against whomever. But it sends a message. Everything else we've been asked many times today, any further NCAA, SEC suspensions, fines, punishments, no is the answer to that question as of this afternoon. My gut only, and I think you agree, Elijah, says they're done with it. Yesterday's decisions by the officiating crew within the rules of the NCAA have, everything's been adjudicated, basically. And really one of the punishments for Carolina's players that had to leave the game, they didn't get to come celebrate, cut down the net.
And that's my biggest gripe yesterday. I thought that was incredibly stupid.
I don't disagree with you. And I'd like to learn more from whomever on why. Let's face it, there are only in any one team's season. I suppose, and I'm not going to count like some November tournament where you might cut down a net.
Right.
But, for real, you get a regular season championship, and on the day you clinch that, you might cut down that net. You win your tournament title, and you win the national title. And I suppose if you want to cut down the NIT net, that's still a national.
We're getting to the Final Four
title. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
They let them do that.
So okay. So I'm doing a Monty Python here. 4, right? In a 30-something game season. So again, I'm with you. That is something, that's a gripe. My biggest thing, is how you measure yesterday. Maybe not my biggest thing, but a thing I have yesterday is we were already in a stoppage of play moment where you naturally get up, leave the bench, mill about for a second. Everybody kind of talks. And then, of course, the substitutes stand while the players that are going into the game sit. That's a typical timeout. So had you already, I mean, it's almost like, well, dang, you're punishing me for something that already happens. Now, again, I get it. So I'm not really here to say they need to go back and reverse it. What are you going to do? They've already been kicked out. Game's over, and the net has already been cut down, so you've already missed the celebration. There's no way to go back and fix that. But I agree with you. Did you ever get, did you get an explanation? I mean, if you're kicked out, that's not, the game's over.
Yeah, it was because they got ejected from the game. They were not allowed to reappear to the court at any time. And regardless of context, which to me is the most infuriating part, because the commissioner's in the building right there.
Right.
What do you need to review?
Right.
He's there. He's got a monitor at his desk to watch every replay. And if he sees that and sees exactly that none of the South Carolina reserves laid a hand on any other player and did anything but restraining of their own players, if we can't use context and common sense to differentiate one ejection from the others, yes, I understand Camilla not being allowed to go back out, because you know what? The girl she shoved is allowed to be out there afterwards.
Yeah.
We should probably keep them separated, right?
Yeah.
But the girls who are playing peacemaker and standing up off the bench in a situation which you normally would, if we can't differentiate these two ejections, I know Greg Sankey likes to say one is not like the other when talking about his conferences and others when it comes to football. But one is not like the other when it comes to the ejections in this basketball game. And not letting those players who worked their what's off to be able to get to this spot to win a conference championship. And you're like they did all of that, the hard work to win this title. You won't let them go back out there and celebrate with their teammates because they got kicked out of a game because of a technicality is absurd. And it's embarrassing to the league to have a stand with only 6 players on it accepting your league championship trophy because you cannot make the difference of one ejection and the other. Yeah, that I thought for the league was pretty embarrassing.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a terrible look.
I agree.
And they could have fixed it.
And I know in any given game, the officiating crew that's assigned to the game, in terms of administering rules, takes over what? Like an hour before tip, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I suppose that also would run to because let's face it now, and I'm serious about this, the vast majority of games, especially close and or ugly games or whatever, the officiating crew is typically sprinting off the floor, which means they're like, I'm done with this game. Even though they may technically have purview.
Mm-hmm.
Heck,
getting out of there.
One of the officials yesterday, I noticed, didn't even want to be part of the scrum. Like,
nope.
two of them were trying to break it up. One just got the heck out of Dodge. I was like, oh, okay.
One dipped.
Yeah.
Pretty quick. Survival instincts.
Yeah. That surprised me a little bit, to be honest with you.
That shouldn't be the case.
No. I know you don't want to get,
that official needs to be reprimanded,
punched.
Too. It's kind of your job to make sure that nothing gets out of control.
You might have to get in there and help separate. And instead, one of them just decided to go to mid-court and watch. This officiating crew is going to have a few things to answer for.
Mm-hmm.
Again,
not a banner day.
Yeah, and I'm not as we've mentioned all day. Camilla got what she deserved. You can't do that.
Adequate punishment.
But I will say, and I used a soccer term earlier. But Flau'jae Johnson got what I would say is 2 quick yellow cards. The intentional foul is a yellow card. That was during the game. But then what she did to Ashlyn was a stoppage of play, but was also something that you can't do.
And instigated the entire incident.
And it was very intentional. That should be, if I'm using the soccer term, that's a second yellow. That's a red. That equals red. You're gone. That didn't happen. And I do believe she should have been ejected. To her credit, Flau'jae Johnson's individual credit, unlike Angel Reese or Kim Mulkey, Flau'jae did seek out Dawn Staley and apologize. We know that Dawn has apologized for her entire ball club.
Mm-hmm.
Kim Mulkey and Angel Reese did not.
Camilla apologized even.
Camilla sent a very nice tweet. Very nice, actually. Very nice. I'll go back and find. I don't have it pulled up, but I'll read it later. Kim Mulkey said she wishes that Camilla had fought Angel Reese or pushed Angel Reese, not fought, and then let him. She said, then let him duke it out, whatever she said, duke it out or have it out or something. I mean, she basically was like, no. And then Angel herself, after the game, we're not scared of South Carolina, and just kind of kept up a defiant stance despite 2 rough fouls and a hair pull. So that officiating crew has a lot to answer for in terms of what they did and did not do. Mm-hmm. Again, if nothing else, Flau'jae Johnson should have been ejected for 2 intentional misdeeds.
Back to back.
That's my opinion.
Yeah.
Yes, and within seconds of one another. That's my opinion. Beyond that, I get it. It was hard for the officiating crew, but they will have things to answer for. And unfortunately, I think this may, as I said earlier, this may set things up for future officiating crews to be more quick on the trigger with fouls.
Establish a tone early.
Yeah, against both of these teams, even if they don't see one another.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Carolina and LSU, boy, they like to get rough.
If you're assigned an LSU game or a South Carolina game, they're going to send you. You should be sent the tape from all of their recent games and being like, here is what has led to escalation.
Right.
If you see this or we get anything resembling this, we are stopping it right away.
Continuing with our integrated media headlines of the day, we'll have plenty more on Carolina men's basketball coming up. The Gamecocks had a really nice win in overtime against Mississippi State and Starkville, and we'll tell you about what their tournament looks like coming up this week. But a couple of NFL notes to get to. First off, Kirk Cousins is going to the Atlanta Falcons, leaving the Minnesota Vikings. He's got a $180 million deal, $90 million of it fully guaranteed. The Philadelphia Eagles are going to sign Saquon Barkley to a 3-year deal, so he is staying in the NFC East, a 3-year, $37.75 million contract, $26 million fully guaranteed at signing, and incentives that could take him up to $46.75 million. He beats the franchise tag number of $15.8 million per season. Pittsburgh Steelers, according to multiple sources, are going to sign Russell Wilson on a 1-year deal. Interesting.
Yeah.
They still don't have a great receiving core.
They still don't have a great quarterback now.
No. I, as a Bronco fan, wished more for him and the Broncos. Maybe this offense is actually better suited to what it is that he likes to do. That's a little more basic.
I mean, the Pittsburgh Steelers can have the honor of being the last team to cut ties with Russell Wilson.
It's a 1-year deal, so I bet if this doesn't work out, that it won't be that.
I'm sure they're going to be very excited with another 9-win season. I'm sure the Steelers faithful will enjoy watching an offense stall out more than it has the last few years.
And if you did not see yesterday, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield agreed on a 3-year, $100 million deal, $50 million of it guaranteed. You know what? I kind of like that one. He did all right. Mike Evans is coming back. It's a very winnable division. Very winnable division for them now.
Baker's just going to have to do something I don't think he's done in his career, and that's follow up a good year with another good year.
Exactly. But when you have one of the better receivers in the league and you've got a good feeling around you, and again, let me say, a very, very winnable division, that's good money spent, I think.
But hey, I mean, if you get one good Baker year out of every 2 in a 3-year deal, you already had 1 year, you're destined for 2 good Baker years. Yeah. So if we're playing the law of averages here, maybe Tampa Bay signing him to a 3-year deal was the smart move. That's the chess, not checkers move.
Got $5 million in incentives as well. That's our integrated media headlines of the day. Get an outdoor system. You and your family enjoy your favorite teams and games and movies and shows while you also enjoy our South Carolina weather. Outdoor systems more affordable than you think. 803-948-8327. Call Integrated Media today. More on Gamecock men's basketball coming up. Yeah, I just told Elijah I almost walked out of here to go get some water, and I realized I have a live read to do because I want to tell you about my great friends at AAA Heating and Air. Beat the seasons. AAA Heating and Air has long been one of the best in South Carolina, and if it's time for you and your family to get a system upgrade, Roy and Dana Finley are ready to give you a free replacement estimate. All you need to do is log on to callAAAtoday.com. And don't worry about the cost of a new system right now because Roy and Dana guarantee financing, and they are going to give you 12 months, no payments or interest in 2024. And on top of that, you get a 15-year parts and labor guarantee. Plus, AAA is also now providing professional and residential electrical services, including lighting installation, panel upgrades, generators. You know, when those big thunderstorms hit, you can keep everything running. 803-677-1500. Tell them Jay Phillips sent you. Do what I've done and many other your friends and neighbors. Stay comfortable with AAA Heating and Air.
make them use some time. Jeffries throws the heave down court. Tolu Smith catches it, gives it off to Davis. His three is short. That one is tipped in the air. And for the 25th time this season, you can put Spurs on this one. In overtime, South Carolina defeats Mississippi State 93-89.
The voice of the Gamecocks, Derek Scott, on the call from the hump in Starkville Saturday. The Gamecocks, as he said, hit their 25th win of the season, 25-6 overall, 13-5 in conference play, and did they, in the process, deal a big blow to Mississippi State? The short answer is yes. Now, State can regroup and have a nice weekend and perhaps turn things around. And they still have a nice net ranking. That was a quad one win for South Carolina. How many is that now? Overall?
That is 4.
Yeah. Gamecocks, I don't know if they improved on the seed line or not. That just depends on a lot of other factors. But I got to say, Colin Murray-Boyles was brilliant. Let me read you all his stat line. Now, this is a 45-minute game. Remember that, okay? 39 minutes. 9 of 10 from the floor, 19 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, 4 steals, and a block. Made his only free throw. Didn't take a three. I told you, he was everywhere all day. I absolutely believe it was his best overall game of the season. I'm joking a little. More important to keep Lamont Paris or Colin Murray-Boyles in this offseason. And with the way things are structured these days, he's going to get phone calls. I'm not trying to scare anybody. And again, I say that a little tongue-in-cheek. But y'all, the only thing that makes it hard to appreciate what he's doing is that he basically missed 6 weeks, and then it took him another 2 or 3 weeks to get his feet wet. Otherwise, we'd have been saying this the whole time. And Lamont has been saying, hey, he was our best player this summer. And just to remind you, he got mono. That knocks you flat on your butt for a while.
For a hot minute.
And then you just got to get yourself back. And he has, but he was fantastic. BJ Mack
yesterday.
I mean, it was.
That block was.
It was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. He was so good.
There has to be a dent in that floor. There has to be. I'm not convinced there wasn't.
BJ Mack, 25 points for BJ, 8 of 11 from the floor, 7 of 8 free throws. He made 2 of 5 from three-point. I'll take 40% all day long from behind the arc.
That's the bar.
2 boards and an assist. Only committed 2 fouls. And he had some defensive moments inside, too. And, that's not always been his thing. Talon Cooper with 5 assists, only 7 points, but Talon was just a great floor leader. Michi, 16 points in 30 minutes. Zach Davis had a nice day. Josh Gray had some big minutes off the bench. Jacoby Wright had some good minutes off the bench. This was a really good basketball game that Mississippi State needed. Again, for Carolina, there's a downside, but it has nothing to do with them. But Carolina, if you did not hear or have not seen, South Carolina, because of the 4-way tie with Bama, Kentucky, and Auburn, Carolina, unfortunately, is the team on the outside looking in to the double-bye quarterfinal round to start the tournament this week. So South Carolina will begin on Thursday instead of Friday. They will play at 3:30-ish, and they will take on the winner of Wednesday night's game between Arkansas and Vandy. So a couple of silver linings. You're going to play somebody who played less than 24 hours prior. Although this weekend, I want to say, because Arkansas and Vandy are the 12 and 13 seeds, but Arkansas took Bama to overtime at Coleman, and Vanderbilt beat Florida. So they come in at least feeling good about themselves and how they played in their last game. But you know what? South Carolina feels really good about how it played in its last game. And really, Carolina feels good about how it played against Tennessee in a loss a week ago. So, but a tremendous game, Elijah. And they looked good all day. State, I know Lamont was disappointed because State, this game should not have gone to overtime. And again, if I'll say that there is a negative. You can't make the late foul. and Zach knows that. And it's a teachable moment for a young player. But other than that, I mean, State was – I don't want to say they weren't in the game. They were in the game, but Carolina was always in control. And then in overtime, Carolina was also in control. So, okay, you had to play 5 more minutes, and I'm sure the message from Lamont was, all right, we basically just won the game, but now we got to go play 5 more minutes to secure it, and they did.
It just felt like Mississippi State was always on the reaction. They were reactionary the entire time. You know, South Carolina took the initiative. I think that 9-point advantage they took early in the first half definitely helped carry over. And my biggest takeaway is that I thought South Carolina in the block, even outside of Colin Murray Boyles, physically stood up to Tolu Smith and Jimmy Bell. And that is the type of game that isn't necessarily the B.J. Mack game, like Florida, for instance, a very big team that rebounds really well and is great when it comes to, you know, interior defense. B.J. didn't have a great game. The first meeting against Mississippi State, B.J. kind of got picked on down low a little bit. Right. Jimmy Bell started in the first 2 possessions of the game where Jimmy Bell duck-ins. And then when Tolu Smith got in there, B.J. was on Tolu Smith. And they killed him on duck-ins. It wasn't a banner matchup for him. In the first game, he had 5 points and was 1 of 9 from the field and had 6 rebounds. And you saw the other day, he dropped 25 and only 2 rebounds, but defensively, he had one of his best games too, and Mississippi State couldn't pick on him the same way they tried to in the first meeting. That was, to me, the most surprising part of the entire game, was seeing B.J. Mack have a good B.J. Mack game, despite it not being maybe one of his quintessential matchups for him to be able to have a scoring output like that.
Let's get cut 17 here. This is Coach Lamont Paris. A little humor on basically what the overtime did to him.
Man, these guys, I just don't even know what to say. I aged. I literally aged in that one. But, you know, we try to give the fans what they want. A little extra drama, a little overtime love, some suspense. And then, you know, the good guys came out on top. But, yeah, you know, obviously some situations that we didn't handle great the way that we should have in terms of execution. But, you know, a lot of good teams have come in here and lost.
Yes.
And so we avoided adding our name to that list there. And it just was cool that there were so many other things, most regular season wins in program history that's special.
And South Carolina has been so good on the conference road this year. They really, really have. And again, remember, their only other loss out of conference was that game in Clemson where they played very, very well. Clemson was just better down the stretch.
And was in control about midway through the second half.
Yeah. Just better in the end. One more here, quick one from Coach Paris, again, on the brilliant day from freshman Colin Murray Boyles.
Crazy
for a freshman. He's got incredible feel. He's got instincts. His competitive juices run high. He's such a talent. And I keep saying this guy doesn't even know how good he could be. It's such an unbelievable ceiling that one day this guy will be able to get to.
And again, if you just tuned into us, let me just repeat the stat line real quick for Colin on Saturday afternoon. Again, 39 minutes of a 45-minute game, 9 of 10 from the floor, made his only free throw, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, 4 steals, and a block, 19 points scored, and was just brilliant defensively as well. Every facet of the game, he was special on Saturday in helping Carolina to that win. So, again, the Gamecocks will start play on Thursday in the tournament. We'll run down the entire tournament bracket for you and give you the results of the weekend, including why Carolina fans still hate Tennessee, maybe even more than they did before Saturday. You are listening to the Postgame Show. I love telling you about my good friend Ben Cato, Matt Stedman, and their entire crew at Cato's Power Equipment. About this time last year, got my brand new Toro Time Master 30-inch deck. Cuts my mowing time in half, and I'll be using that puppy several times here coming up. For the next several months, because that's what time of year it is. And right now, their huge Mow the Distance sale is about to hit Cato's. 15% off steel products, 10% off all parts, 20% off the MSRP on most commercial mowers, plus closeout models priced $2,000 to $3,000 below normal sale prices. This is an excellent time to get into Cato's for new equipment, or if you love what you have and you need it serviced and spruced up for the spring and summer cutting season, stop into their service department ready to help you out. They've done great work since 1983. Check them out, 4012 West Beltline Boulevard, and always online at catospowerequipment.com.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell with a couple of accidents to report to you that might be causing some delays on the roadways this Monday afternoon. We'll start off with some good news. We all like good news, and that is that an accident has been cleared on I-26 westbound. That's over at Bush River Road, exit 108A. Again, an accident has been cleared on I-26 westbound over at the Bush River Road exit. An accident in Lexington County has been reported on Westcott Road at St. Andrews Road. Another one in Lexington County on US 378 at Charter Oak Road near St. Peters Road. One at Platte Springs Road at South Lake Drive. One at Irmo Drive at Lake Murray Boulevard. And lastly, an accident has been reported in Richland County here in Irmo on Columbiana Drive over at Lake Murray Boulevard.
We'll stay with basketball for you here on this Monday afternoon. Jay and Elijah with you as the postgame show rolls on. Again, South Carolina women defeating LSU yesterday, 79-72. Bit of an ugly finish. There's no doubt about that. But another championship for Coach Dawn, proudly wearing that net around her neck in her postgame yesterday up in Greenville at the Bon Secours Wellness Arena. Yeah, the... Did you ever see like any remnants of that Bon Jovi show I mentioned from like 10 years ago when I didn't know what the Bon Secours Wellness Center was before they put arena on it instead?
Which, A, smart branding decision.
Yep.
B, I didn't see that, but I did see a leaking pipe in the media room. That was really cool.
Sorry to hear that.
There was some indoor rain that happened right before the A&M South Carolina press conference.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
I told the story last week, or I don't know when I told it a couple weeks ago, but that was the Bilo Center. Many of you, we all knew it was the Bilo Center up in downtown Greenville. And at some point, like 10 years ago-ish, they changed it to Bon Secours Wellness Center. And they kept the center on there. And we were literally running an ad here in Columbia for Bon Jovi in that building. I've never seen I've seen a lot of concerts. I've not seen Bon Jovi in concert. Nothing against, Bon Jovi and their fans. I'm just not really a Bon Jovi guy. A couple songs I like. But regardless, that's beside the point. I was like, what is that? I was like...
You thought they're playing at like a community center.
That's what it felt like. The Bon Secours Wellness Center. It sounds like some kind of rec center, like a YMCA, like the competition for the YMCA or something.
Or like one of those walk-in clinics, like a satellite med. And someone said, we have a Bon Jovi playing tonight at Satellite Med Center. I'm like, oh, well.
Friday night bingo.
A crowded waiting room is able to solicit, a musical act like Bon Jovi.
Friday night bingo, Saturday night Bon Jovi, Sunday afternoon pickleball.
Come here for the blood drive, and then you get to see John Bon Jovi.
Free blood pressure check, cholesterol screening, all at the Bon Secours Wellness Center.
And all the physicals for the kids so they can be eligible for SCHSL play. Yeah.
Bon Jovi has really fallen. And then my good friend Michael Haney, who is from the upstate, said, no. That was the Bilo Center. And Bon Secours is the hospital chain that is now the sponsor. Oh, okay, well, good. I felt better for Bon Jovi, if nothing else.
It is amazing, though, that what changing from center to arena will do for something with a sponsor of a hospital.
I'm not from Greenville. I don't go to Greenville that often, to be honest with you. When I travel up that way, I go to Asheville. And, I know Mission Hospital. If you had said the Mission Hospital Center, I know what that is. They don't have that. But anyway. But when I heard Bon Secours Wellness Center, I'm like, I don't know what that is.
Sounds French.
It was an honest, innocent mistake, and I think a fair question. Anyway, again, Carolina fans had one, they had two jobs for their men's basketball team on Saturday. A, pull for your team. B, pull for Tennessee. One of those was a lot harder than the other. And Tennessee really let you down. Because Kentucky, I don't know if the score is as indicative of the game. 85-81 sounds like a nail-biter. The fact of the matter is Tennessee really had to claw their way back into it. They were getting beat.
Well, it was a 10-point game with a minute left.
Yeah. They were getting beat. But, it was only a 4-point game at halftime and 52 all in the second half. So it sounds, again, like a nail-biter. But Kentucky was running away with it. Tennessee did figure out a few things to do. But nevertheless, that's why, if you're wondering, that's why even with a great record of 13-5, South Carolina is the 5 seed in the SEC men's basketball tournament. They lost the tiebreaker. It's a collective tiebreaker between the 4 schools that finished 13-5. That's why we were saying all day Friday, if you're wondering what to do, you just need Kentucky to lose. Because if Carolina wins or loses, as long as Kentucky loses, Carolina gets the double bye and starts in the quarterfinal round. But that did not happen. Kentucky, again, 85-81. Auburn beat Georgia 92-78. Wasn't that close. I think Auburn did only send 2 guys out on the floor for the final 5 minutes.
And not because they were ejected.
Yeah. I'm kidding, but not by that much. Alabama did get pushed.
Alabama messed around and found out.
They did. Arkansas had a halftime lead in Coleman Coliseum in Tuscaloosa. Bama came back to tie it and sent it into overtime. 92-88 was the final score. So And if you're wondering, now if Arkansas had won that game and Carolina gets their decision in Starkville, then yes, South Carolina does start in the quarterfinal round. But Alabama won the game, and it doesn't matter.
Don't think they would have, right?
Yeah, because Alabama's also.
That's right.
Yeah, if Alabama had lost.
Yeah, okay. That's right. They had lost.
If Alabama had lost.
They almost gave you some hope.
That's what I'm saying. That one, but I did not expect Bama or Auburn to lose, and they did not. A&M, I don't know if this buried Ole Miss or not. They have 20 wins, but only 7 in conference. But A&M went to Oxford and won 86-60. Now that I think A&M did themselves a solid. They got to 18 overall, but 9-9 in the league. They have a pretty good strength of schedule. That may have helped Buzz's team. Vandy upset Florida in Nashville 79-78. That's a bad loss for Florida, but it only really hurts them probably on the seed line. What are they, a 7, maybe an 8?
Yeah, the spirit of that team is like 6-7, but that result is probably going to put them in 8. Even though Lenardi's got them playing in Brooklyn as a 6 seed against the winner of Indiana State and Colorado.
They also have a good strength of schedule. And Florida's good. And 11-7 is really good. And LSU goes to 9-9 in conference play. Not going to be enough for the national tournament though. They don't have a great strength of schedule. 84-80 over Missouri. The Missouri Tigers winless in Southeastern Conference play.
They're 1 game away from the Vanderbilt.
0-18. So here's how things look for you at the tournament. Wednesday, game 1, Vandy and Arkansas. That winner plays South Carolina. Game 2 on Wednesday. These are the play-in games, and that's what I'm going to call them because they are. Missouri and Georgia. That winner gets Florida. The 2 games that are predetermined for Thursday are Mississippi State and LSU. That'll be at noon, or 1 o'clock, 1 o'clock Eastern. Carolina will play 25 minutes after that. The night session is Mississippi versus A&M, so they see each other again right away. Interesting coincidence. And then, again, Florida gets the winner of Missouri and Georgia. And then to confuse you further, but please pay attention, the Mississippi State LSU winner gets Tennessee. Carolina and whoever they play, that winner gets Auburn. That'd be the same time slot on Friday. The Ole Miss A&M winner gets Kentucky, and Florida and whoever they play, that winner gets Alabama. So that's what the SEC men's tournament looks like in Nashville. Elijah will be up there covering all of it. He is heading up there right after tomorrow's show. So you'll be there for both the games on Wednesday night and then a full day of action. And as I told Elijah, I love my job. We've had a really good show today. I love what I do, but I hope we will not be here Thursday because we'll have Carolina men's basketball, and I don't mind saying I hope we're not here on Friday.
Yeah, I'd be cool with not having to do a show on Friday. That meant South Carolina still playing
and
for
if we
some very meaningful basketball.
Right. If we are here on Friday, that means it wasn't a good Thursday.
Yeah, Bill, I was on with Bill in the morning show on the early game.
Well, there's your mistake.
Yeah, see, and that's enough trouble as is. But Bill,
at least Jen was there, so there's that.
Jen helped. Yeah, she did what the SEC women's basketball tournament officials could not do, and that's mediate very well and make sure we didn't get too crazy. But one of the first things he asked me was what would be success for this team going into the NCAA tournament, and I said, well, I mean, at least beat whoever you play in the first game.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing like going into an NCAA tournament after coming off a really bad, embarrassing loss to a bad team. You do that, you're competitive against Auburn. I don't think it really matters if you win or lose. That's not good. Like losing to Auburn by 10 in the Friday game, the quarterfinal, isn't going to be a make or break in terms of getting you in the tournament or changing seed lines. If you end up winning the SEC tournament, great. You might end up getting overseeded as like a 3, but that's basically what we're looking at.
That's a drive around the SEC for this Monday, brought to you by our good friends at Herndon Chevy. Stop by the showroom, see why Herndon makes you smile. Still got a few phone calls to get to. Thank you for your patience. We've been talking Carolina women's basketball and more. You're listening to the Postgame Show. Welcome back in. Final few minutes of the post-game show on this Monday. We've been very busy today, and thank you so much. This is almost like a big-time football reaction day with the weight of what we dealt with yesterday at the championship game of the SEC Women's Tournament. So we do thank you for that. And on that note, before I get to one more news note, Bruce has been waiting for a while here. And again, Bruce, like many today, thank you so much for your patience. How are you? Welcome in.
Oh, well, thank you, Jay. I appreciate it. Just want to say, listen, I've been listening to 107.5 for a long time, and as a Clemson Tiger, I just want to say congratulations to the ladies again at Carolina for a tremendous season, and also to Coach Parrish. And I really love to listen to him talk, and, I mean, what he's done this year is above outstanding.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to say was that, and I told Elijah, is our son is one of the top 3 high school basketball coaches in the state. And just to, I guess, comment on the officiating yesterday, not that they were good or bad either way, but the way he controls games like that, because he's done 4 5A high school championship games, and he just did the 3A championship game in Florence. And when he's head official, most of the time he is, he'll, like on a dead ball or a timeout, he'll get his crew together and say, look, guys, all right, getting a little bit chippy, getting a little bit out of control, the chirping, and they'll just say, okay, let's just continue. But if it gets to the point that the competitiveness is getting more chippiness, then he'll get them together and he'll go warn the coaches and say, look, you can continue your players playing competitively, but we're not going to let this get out of control. And after that, it normally calms down. So I didn't see the game yesterday because our grandson had his first T-ball game.
All right.
But maybe the referees didn't just – I hate to use the term control.
Right.
But at least make a comment to say, we need to calm your players down a little bit. We're going to let them play, but at some point we may have to begin to get this more under control. That's all I'm
I think
saying.
that's a good phone call. Yeah, thank you, Bruce. Appreciate that. Elijah was just a few feet away from the court yesterday, and he's right. Control is one thing. Set the tone is another, and that might be more of what officials do. Now, look, some games, I think back to a few games I've seen in the last few years, especially in the Final Four with the Gamecock women, and it felt like the officials had gotten together pregame, Elijah, and said, okay, we're going to set but it was with fouls and things they did. And sometimes it's okay. Sometimes it could be to the detriment of the flow early. Yesterday, they did not. They did not, in my opinion, have that. Now, you give us the feeling of the energy in the building.
It's tense. The energy in that building from the time the ball tipped and the time the first basket was scored by Angel Reese, and she let Camilla know that she's doing that all day.
Right.
You don't have to be a lip reader. I didn't have to be a lip reader. I could hear it, all day. And there's some words that I'm probably not going to be allowed to repeat on these airways at risk of getting an FCC violation. There was a lot of that yesterday, and it added to the already existing tenseness of a conference championship game. Mm-hmm. You could feel the game within the game really happening, especially on the blocks when the ball was not in their hands. The jockeying for position was incredibly physical. It was not for the faint of heart. And those were two big bodies that were throwing at each other, and they were giving each other everything they had because both those players would be damned if the other one scored on them. That's eventually what it got to. And it got really tense after a while. The flagrant foul, that one didn't help things. Anissa Morrow throwing an elbow that didn't land, but she threw it.
Right.
Didn't help anything. There were several instances yesterday where you could feel the tension mounting more and more every time, South Carolina made a three. There was a look over at the bench. Malaysia a couple of times was pointing, and it got to a point where it went from really good, I would say positive, to the game trash talk to it's getting dirty. And if you don't send a message to these teams saying, hey, look, we don't want to foul you guys out because Angel Reese and Camila Cardoso are two good enough players to not foul out of this game. But we're going to start calling some really tight stuff if we don't get the extracurriculars out. And there was just none of that in that arena.
And did you notice if they had ever taken time, and as the caller, as Bruce mentioned, in stoppages, when those of us watching on television don't see what an official may be doing with a head coach every once in a while to just go over and
there were a couple times I noticed
nudge.
A ref would come up to Camilla and say something.
Yeah.
But eventually you're going to have to send that to the coaches and start calling things really tight.
Yeah.
You're going to have to start acting upon the warnings that you give.
Appreciate all of you that joined us today. It was a really good show. So thank you so much for that. Shane Beamer on tomorrow's program and the voice of the Gamecocks, Derek Scott. So we'll have another fun Tuesday for you. Pro Day for Gamecock football tomorrow. Recaps of that as well. And we'll see you then. And one more final note, and it's about our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union, here to help you and your family with every single one of your financial needs, from checking and savings to credit cards, car loans, mortgage or home equity line, putting the kids through school, whatever it is that you need to do. Palmetto Citizens is ready to help you out, and they've been doing it for more than 80 years across the Midlands. They don't have stockholders, so, they return earnings back to you and the members as lower loan rates and fewer fees. If you're ready to apply for any kind of loan or currently have high interest rates with another financial institution, now's a great time to call Palmetto Citizens and see what they can do for you. Plus, they work with you to customize terms and payments to fit your needs and your budget. How about that? Apply online at palmettocitizens.org or visit any of their 14 convenient Midlands locations. My wife and I are happy customers of Palmetto Citizens. We use the Millwood branch. Whichever one you choose, you'll meet some great people at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union.